The theme of this year is accelerating NIPE implementation for achieving Malabo. The theme, compared to other years, well, I think we are operating in some new policy environment. Globally, we have the SDGs, and as we know, the SDGs, there are several targets that speak to ending hunger. We have, of course, Agenda 2063 had been there, but we had not gone into details in looking at targets. And we have produced the first biennial report, which has given us a first glimpse of how we are doing. Now, as a first result, one can say, as a first report, one can say this is a baseline report. This is where we're starting. So, in our view, this PP was supposed to do a couple of things. As we said, have this policy learning workshop for member states to say how they found the process. But also, we have been, in the last 2 years, since Malabo was adopted, we, I think, have been trying to understand how best to support member states to address Malabo in the context of the CAADP process that had happened in the last 10 years. So therefore, the question of the NIPEs as the key instrument was one that we had to reflect on. Do we have to do something else? Or do we start another process to say, okay, we start another process like we did when CAADP implementation started? We do stakeholder analysis, stock taking, sign a compact, hold a business meeting, and all this. Or do we say we have a vehicle already that has been put in place to implement CAADP and build on that, and therefore, instead of starting afresh, look at refreshing the NIPEs, given what we have learned the last several years on the NIPEs as they were developed. As most of you will know, most of the important issues, substantive issues that are covered in Malabo were not actually covered in a very systemic way in the NIPEs when they were designed in most countries. We have had to go back and try to mainstream these issues in the NIPEs. So whether we talk about climate change and resilience, we have had to go back. We talk about gender, we have had to go back to do this. We talk about fisheries, we had to go back. So all these very critical substantive areas that make Africa's agriculture were not dealt with that way. So we've learned a lesson to say when we are talking about NIPEs refresh, we cannot again deal with these issues as add-on. So we need to be able to, from the beginning, when a country starts its refresh process, make sure all these issues are integrated. At least when I say all these issues, of course the countries have priorities. I do not believe, or we never do not believe that all the targets will be given the same equal weight in every country. So they will do their own prioritization, but at the time when we are doing this, we get all the right things on the table. The land question, the resilience question, the gender question, and so on and so forth. That's why yesterday there was the launch of the NIPE toolkit. So countries, member states have these tools to help them to design or refresh their NIPE so that they are Malabo compliant. So these people, the difference is that we have learned. I think we have come a long way. We have learned a lot in terms of the important thematic issues that we did not give sufficient attention to in the first generation NIPEs, which will be critical if we have to be Malabo compliant and we have to deliver on the transformation of African agriculture. These subjects cannot be treated as add-on, but have to be taken on board from the onset. I think we have also learned that, very, very importantly, on this PP, after the last, I keep saying 2 years, it's 3 or 4 years now since Malabo, that we cannot count on development partners to develop this continent for us. Because we had a slow period after the multi-donor trust fund that supported the first 10 years of CAADP phased out. We were not prepared for that. I think the point has been made sufficiently now that Africa has to fund its own development. Others can only come to support us, but the first investment in the Africa's agricultural sector have to be Africa's public fiscus. So I think that's a very important lesson that we have learned, and that we are happy to see that at the level of the African Union, a decision has been made to increase the contributions from member states, suppose 0.2% of the GDP into the African Union budget. I think that will help at the level of continental support to member states, but member states themselves also are still encouraged to try and meet the 10% target of the national budget that was set up in Maputo when CAADP was adopted.